Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Sparks of Ingenuity podcast. So, just before recording this podcast, I realized that I am now on Spotify. So, I'm really excited about that. I hope people are able to find me from Spotify. But I was lucky enough to share my podcast on my Instagram story and a couple of other places. Speaking of, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I do put why can't I think of what that is? My handle in the description of my podcast episodes. But just search Genevieve Noel Books. I do put underscores in between each of those words. Otherwise, you can check out my website, GenevieveNoelBooks.weebly.com. And if you're interested in hearing more from me, you can always check out my YouTube channel, which is just Genevieve Noel, and check me out there. So yeah, now that we've done a little bit of self-promoting here, let's get into the episode for today. I wanted to talk about something a little, I don't know, everything's different in this podcast. I haven't really established like a timeline yet, but last night, so I guess not last night, but the night before last night, my son I'm pretty sure he's starting to teeth already, and he just did not sleep at all, and he didn't just want to eat either. He would start eating and then start whining and kicking me and squirming all around, and then of course he'd pop off and not be able to find his food again. And it was just a constant battle all night long, and my husband and I got no sleep. And then last night he slept almost through the night. He woke up twice, once at 11 something and then once at 4:30, and then he slept until 7:40-ish this morning. So it was a really weird dichotomy of two nights. But anyway, last night he slept really well, and because I didn't get up to feed him that much, and the night before I was feeding him constantly throughout the night, and all of yesterday basically was just feeding him because he was so crabby. But this morning I changed his diaper, changed his clothes, and I had to go into the bathroom to get myself ready. So I'm walking him in there, and I put him down, and I feel this wetness on my leg. And I was like, man, you're drooling all over me. Put him down and, go to the bathroom, get myself ready, do my thing. And I looked down on my leg, and there's these little white spots. And I was like, what the heck? And I realized I was leaking milk. And any breastfeeding mother kind of has felt this before, but it's just such a weird thing to be leaking. It's a weird concept. But anyway, so I'm okay, well, I got milk all over my bra and this whole thing. So I sit down to pump as I'm kind of doing some bookkeeping stuff for the podcast. And it's just kind of going, and I kind of forget that it's going as I'm, doing my own thing here. And then I looked down and I was like, oh crap, this bottle's almost full. And it almost leaks everywhere and causes a huge mess, and it just crazy, wild times over here. It's the most excitement I get all week. But anyway, today I mentioned, last week that we were going to do a thing for my brother's birthday, which I will probably be talking about in the next episode, but we're going to be going on a car ride for a significant length of time. It's more than an hour anyway, and my child hates the car with a passion. So I'm really interested to see how he reacts. We'll see. And it's going to be a time. But my whole point of this is, I don't know if you've ever taken your kids to a hotel, or if you remember when you were a kid and you went to a hotel, and it was just a crazy time, and it was away from home, and it was this whole new, different experience that was just marvelous and wonderful and all of this stuff. And taking your kids to a hotel should be that same experience for parents, but it's not. And it's a lot more stressful. And you've got people to keep track of, and you've got to make sure that you're not bothering anybody, and like it's a whole thing, and your routine is disrupted, and like because of that, the kids find it great, but because of that, the parents find it horrifying, and it's just so weird. It's something that you don't really think about until somebody brings it up. For the most part, I mean, there are some people that think about that, and they're like, and that's why I'm not having kids, and like, you know, I kind of don't blame you, but it's wild. But when my husband and I were on our honeymoon, we went to Virginia Beach for our honeymoon. We were married in July and we went in August, so I don't really know what I was thinking, but I will say the water was still cold. If you're looking to go to the ocean somewhere, go to the Gulf of Mexico. Just go, like, we lived in Corpus Christi for a couple months. Also a long story, but we lived in Corpus Christi for a couple of months, and we went to the beach like 3 times in the couple of months that we were there. Maybe it was more than that, but I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 times total. And the water was always warm. It didn't matter how cold or hot it was that day. The water was warm. It was never really cold when we were there because we went there in June. That's when we moved, but it was never really cold. But the water was always really warm, and I always found that not to be the case when I went to the East Coast. I mean the West Coast too, but I went to Washington, and we went to Ocean City, and I'm sure very few people have ever been to Ocean City, but it is like miles of beach with like I can't think of what they're called now. Oh man, the things with tentacles that like sting you. I want to say squids, but they're real. I know they're not squids. I can't think of what they're called. They're not. And whatever, it'll come to me. Anyway, the beaches are kind of like dirty in the off season, and it's cold. It's very cold. It's cold no matter which ocean you go to, but the Gulf of Mexico is good. So go to the Gulf of Mexico is my moral of that story. But anyway, my husband and I are driving out to Virginia Beach to go to the beach for our honeymoon. And we stopped after like 12 hours. We live in the Midwest, so if you can't tell already. But we live in the Midwest, and it was 12 hours to our stopping point. We drove. And like I said, I've never been on a plane before, but I've been plenty of places in the country. I always drive. But anyway, we went to Ohio and we stopped for the night, and that was the night of the Dayton shooting. We were in Dayton an hour before the shooting happened. Well, at the time, our honeymoon was like a couple, 2-3 weeks after our wedding, and I was not feeling well that night, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to go out that long. We went out, we walked around. It was really fun to walk around, but it was really weirdly quiet on the street. And my husband got one drink, and then we decided to go back to the hotel and call it a night because we had a long day the next day, and we wanted to get there at a decent time. Whew. Sorry about that. Anyway, my husband and I decided to go back, and the next morning we had a call from my dad. And I'm down at breakfast, and my dad's like, "Are you guys okay?" And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" "Yeah, we're fine." And he's like, "There was a shooting there last night." And I was like, "What?" No way. We're staying in a suburb of Dayton, and I'm laughing about it. Not that it was a funny event. It wasn't funny. What happened was actually very devastating, and it was a very eye-opening experience that we honestly could have been there if I was feeling better, because we went out with the intention of going out to varying places that night. We were actually just a block down from where the shooting occurred when we were out, so it was wild. We were narrowly missed that event. But anyway, I was just like, dude, wow. But we pack up the car, get back in the car, and we drive out to Virginia State. We get into Virginia Beach, and we're at an Airbnb, which is somebody's like condo, like, we were a couple blocks from the beach. It was within walking distance. It was this awesome awesome stay, super cheap. We loved our host. He was like never there. And we were able to like lock in our belongings, it was a great experience. But anyway, my husband hates the heat. And anyone that knows my husband was like, "Why are you going on this specific trip?" And I was like, "Well, we wanted to go to the beach." So I was like, "Screw it. We're going to the beach. We're going all in." all in. So we spend this like week down at the beach, and the crazy thing is I don't like swimming in the ocean. And that's weird for me because I grew up in an area with a lot of lakes, and the culture was just everyone owned a cabin or went to the lake in the summertime at least once and swam in the lakes. But my parents never did that. My dad was always working, and my mom couldn't take me and all of my siblings out to like a lake for a week. So whenever we swam, it was in pools. And I was like, of course, I'm the one that picked going to the ocean. I don't even like swimming in the ocean. Well, when we lived in Corpus Christi in Texas, I did get over that fear quite a bit. We spent hours in the ocean, and I was actually pregnant at that point in time, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But anyway, this was before that, and so I was not used to the ocean. And so we just kind of like sat on the beach. We did spend a decent amount of time on the ocean, but then we also, we drove up to DC. We had a great time. It was a really enjoyable trip. But I gotta say, if you're looking for an inexpensive honeymoon, probably want to stay either in-state or in one of the states surrounding yours, unless someone else is going to pay for it for you, because, man, we didn't even really do that much. We just kind of ate a lot of things, and we did nice dinners, and we went to a winery, and we did all that kind of fun stuff, but, we still probably spent like $1,000 on our honeymoon, which, I mean, in all is really not that expensive for a honeymoon if you think about it, considering like 2 plane tickets could be $1,000 if you're going out of the country. But still more expensive than what we were initially planning. So you can't really get away with too cheap, but it was a good time. This cruise that I mentioned in my last podcast that my husband and I are going on in November as like an anniversary trip, which was supposed to be for our first anniversary, but, COVID happened. Anyway, we decided to go on this cruise. I've always wanted to go on a cruise. I thought it would be fun, and I've never been before. My husband hasn't either, but we're going on a Virgin Voyages cruise, and I can't say that I can recommend it yet. I think their first cruise leaves in May. They're a brand new cruise line, but they're designed for 18 plus, and they're kind of designed for like the millennial Gen Z generation. So they're more tailored to a younger crowd, which is going to be really interesting, I think, because it'll be a different experience, and we have to leave our son at home because of this, and I'm kind of really excited for this adults vacation thing. I keep thinking about it and how excited I am, and not that I want to leave my kid, but like, man, it sounds like a good break. But the pricing on it was really, honestly, very reasonable, and they have a deal going on currently anyway. And I'll explain how our booking went if you guys want to hear about it. But if you're looking for a decently priced, week-long honeymoon getaway, I would recommend the Virgin Voyages cruises. In terms of their pricing, they include all of their food, basic beverages. So if you want to have like more expensive alcoholic beverages, they do have that option. But for the most part, like, they include Wi-Fi, they include tips, they include the beverages, they include all of your food. You don't have to buy any of those packages. It's all in the price. So all you have to do if you want to like do an add-on on the ship is if you want more alcoholic beverages. Otherwise, it just gets charged to your room. Like, super easy. And I think it's so much easier than this convoluted process that like all other cruise lines have. Anyway, yeah, honeymoons, definitely would recommend going on one. It was really enjoyable. But if you don't have the money, don't like feel like you have to go a different time. Like, just make a point to go on a honeymoon at some point. If you're getting married, that's my one after the wedding recommendation. I do also plan weddings, so that's a whole different thing. But anyway, we're running out of time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you have questions, do let me know. I have my contact info. Otherwise, check out those different social media platforms that I mentioned and ask me questions there. You can PM me, feel free. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time and talk to you soon.